So by now you will have scraped and sanded your pot. So it should have a very, very nice smooth surface to it. So we need to make some slip. I made a little bit earlier actually. I did the whole video and realized that I wasn't recording. So here we're going to do it again. So I put a little bit of water into a container, one that has a cover so I can save my slip. And then I'm going to take the scrapings that I took off of my pot and put it into the water. So slip is really just liquid clay. I'm going to add a little bit more water to this and then mix it up. So the thickness should be about like heavy cream. You don't want it too thick. I'm going to make it a little bit thinner. It should be nice and smooth. So it should coat your fingers like that. So now I'm going to put the slip on the pot. So I do not use any slip on the inside while I'm working on the outside. You complete the whole outside before you begin to work on the inside. And the reason for that is when you apply the slip, you're wetting the outside of the pot. And if you wet the inside of the pot, it's going to sort of sandwich a dry section and it will cause it to crack. So you see I'm putting on the slip in a circular motion. So I put one coat and I kind of let it dry just a little bit so that you don't see a wet, slimy surface on the outside. It'll start to look matte and you know that it's beginning to dry. As opposed, you can see that side is a little wet still, but this side is more dry. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to put a second coat. So if you have a design like I have on the top here, you can get a pin tool and pick out the slip so that there's a little bit more contrast with your design. Or you can let it fill in if you want. So now I'm putting on third coat. Always in a circular motion. Okay, so now I'm going to take a dry sponge. This one's pretty wet, but I'm taking this dry one and I'm going to start buffing it. And that means I go in a circular motion just like I did with putting it on. Excuse me. So I buff, 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 buff. And you can buff as long as you want to. Excuse me. You can't buff too much. You can polish too much, but you can't buff it too much. So as you're buffing, it's also drying out the slip and it's making it shine a little bit. So always in a circular motion. So the better you buff it, the nicer your polish will be in the long run. it almost starts to look like leather. It's really such a nice finish. Sometimes I'll just buff it and not even bother to put a polish on it. Okay, so I'm going to stop there because I don't want to spend all my time buffing, but I'm going to put a fourth coat on now. So again, I put it in a circular motion. And just that 1/4 coat, and then I'm going to buff it again. So if you forget all these steps, you can refer to Felipe's handout again, because he talks about them in great detail. And I think when I was learning, I made so many pots that I had to look at the handout to remember the sequence that you had to follow. So it's 3 coats of slip in a circular motion, buff in a circular motion, then a 4th coat of slip, and buff again in a circular motion. And once you've got it shiny, then we're going to put a coat of oil on here before we polish. So I'm going to take a paper towel. You can use a rag, as long as it's a nice soft rag. You don't want something that's very rough. So I'm using just some canola cooking spray on a paper towel. You can use any kind of oil, mineral oil, bacon grease, and you don't need very much. You just need enough to put a thin coat on the surface, so you'll see it start to shine. And the purpose of the oil is so that when you polish with the stone, the stone will slide easily over the surface. Okay, so now I'm going to pick my stone. The stones can be any shape, any size, whatever feels comfortable in your hand. This one feels really good because it's got a little indent there that you can kind of hold on to. So I have some different ones here. If you need a polishing stone, if you haven't got anything at home that's nice and shiny like this and smooth, come to my house and pick one up. I've got a whole box of them that you can borrow one of them. So the main thing you have to watch out for is something like that. I don't know whether you can see it. There's a chip out of it, and it's kind of sharp. And so if you polish with that side and you hit your surface with it, it's going to scratch the surface of your slip. So I'm going to try this one. So when you polish, you're going to go in a straight line. So for all the buffing, everything was in a circle. For the polish, everything is a straight line. So I go back and forth. And this flattens out all the particles of clay and makes them shine. So as I mentioned before, you can't buff it too much, but you can polish it too much. And if you polish it too much, what will happen is that the slip will start to lift off. So you can go in one direction and then cross hatch it, go over the other direction. So I went this way, and now I'm going this way. And you'll still see a few lines from when you're polishing, but those will go away during the firing. Okay, so I think I've got the bottom. Now I'm going to go around the side. You do one section at a time. So this is when you'll find out how good a job you did building, for one thing, and then scraping and sanding. Because if you left any little divots or scratches or anything like that, then when you polish with the stone, you're only going to hit the high spots. So those parts won't get a polish. I'm just going to do, as my grandmother would say, a lick and a promise. So. I don't know if you can begin to see the shine coming up. Okay, so once you've got it polished on the outside, then you can take your slip and put one coat on the inside. So I'm just coating the surface. You don't have to polish the inside. You're just going to put a coat of slip on it. And then we're going to call it done. So you want to scratch your name on the bottom. You can use a pen or a pen tool. And that's how you polish a pot. It's really wonderful to sit outside, especially on a nice summer day, and just polish away. It's a wonderful feeling.